I know they can be tedious. I know they can be long, sometimes controversial, sometimes platforms for controversy. But I love the Oscars. I love watching the Academy Awards. I don't care how long they are. I've been watching them since I was a kid. I've been watching them since I was a child, watching people get awards for movies, which quite honestly, at the time, as a child, they were movies I wasn't even allowed to go to. But I watched them because I was told that what I was watching and the people who were getting the awards, that they were the best. That's what we do in this country. We like to distinguish the best. We like to have champions, Super Bowl champions, NBA champions, World Series champions, Stanley Cups for hockey, green jackets for the Masters in golf, Oscars for movies, Emmys for television, Tonys for Broadway, Golden Globes. I don't really understand the Golden Globes. I got to be honest with you. I really don't know about what the Golden Globes are and what they're about, but I watch them nonetheless because they award excellence. And I guess when it comes right down to it, I like to see who rises to the top, who's given their all, who's done the best work according to their peers. And I guess that's kind of how it is in life. You know, you want to be distinguished. You want to be, if you have the opportunity in your job to be a cut above and maybe set above, recognized. What's the harm in that, right? Right. Hi, I'm Dino Tripodis, and this is Whiskey Business, a podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey. And this is our annual Oscar podcast. And since we're talking about the top of the heap, I thought it only appropriate to go to the bottom of the shelf for our guest bottle. This is Ancient Age on the bottom shelf. There was recently one of the whiskey blogs that rated the 10 best bottom shelf whiskeys, because sometimes the bottom shelf gets ignored. It really shouldn't. Ancient Age has been around since like 1946, and for those of you who like your whiskey a little more highbrow, it's made by Sazerac, the same people that give you Buffalo Trace and the Van Winkles, etc., etc. It's about 80 proof. Is it a great whiskey? No. It's not a great whiskey, but for the price, between $11 and $15, it's a superb whiskey for the price. Is it something special? No, but it's not bad. It's just not bold and exciting and something to talk about or brag about when you're amongst your whiskey drinking friends. But if you want to go for something cheap and yet good that'll get you through the night, or maybe a 3.5-hour Oscar telecast, Ancient Age could be the way to go. We'll see what our guests think about the bottle as we introduce our guest. I'm very excited about our annual Oscar podcast because returning is George Wolfe, who has the distinction of being on the very first Whiskey Business. This is your 4th appearance, 3 Oscar appearances, 1 regular Whiskey Business appearance, and you're joined by the lovely Hope Madden, your wife. Together, they are madwolf.com. That's their website. Hope does the same thing that George does. You guys review movies. You guys see more movies in a year than I will see in my entire life, right? I mean, it's being perfectly honest.
We see a lot.
They have madwolf.com. They have the screening room podcast.com. They also have Fright Club. You can find all these things by going...
Madwolf.com pretty much has them all.
Madwolf.com has them all.
MADD.
MADD.
Yeah.
Wolf.com.
Madwolf on Twitter as well. So we're all over the place.
You're all over the place. You are all over the place. But the Oscars are become a very special time for you, just as they have for me. I want to get to a little Oscar business before we actually get into some of the major categories. And we're not going to dig into every category because we have a limited amount of time. So we'll hit the majors, which apparently Oscar's doing as well, as far as the telecast.
Right.
All right, first of all, let me address my first question, because this is the one that popped up first. No host. What do you think?
I think it's ridiculous. And not so much because I feel like the show has to have a host, but the reason that they decided to go without a host is they hired Kevin Hart. There was backlash against Kevin Hart, and they were like, well, if we can't have one famous straight guy, I guess we can't have anybody. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's the latest in a series of gaffes that just, and the one that we'll talk about in a minute, the latest one, they just can't seem to get out of their own way. You just wonder who is it just a bunch of monkeys in a room that are making these decisions? It all seems so senseless to me. That was one. This latest one, if you go all the way back to, remember when you guested on our Fright Club podcast,
which was a blast, by the way. I had a great time.
We loved it
we
too.
talked about
we
The Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I had such a good time.
Months ago, and we talked about the fact that at that time they had just announced that they were going to have what was it called?
A popular movie category.
Popular movie category.
Popular. So
Right.
the movies that were uber successful
Yep.
Right.
and killing at the box office deserve some sort of recognition. Luckily, this time around, one of those movies actually
Right.
is in contention, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But the second controversy, which just popped up recently, is that there's like 4 categories that we will be deprived of
Right.
in the regular telecast that they're going to award during the commercials. And they are,
Cinematography.
that's ridiculous.
That's
ridiculous.
insane. Film editing.
Okay.
Is
That's
another.
also
Which
ridiculous.
makes a movie.
Right. Between cinematography and film editing, I
Yeah,
mean,
those two are.
you know,
I couldn't believe it.
arguably as important as direction right there.
John Whitney, who produces our video for the YouTube channel, directs and shoots and edits. Can you imagine, Johnny? He's shaking his head no. Can you imagine if you actually got to that rare air where you were nominated and then found out, not this weekend, but the next weekend coming up, that if you win, there's going to be a Charmin commercial running with some animated bears while you're accepting your award. That's bullshit.
Yeah, it is.
Now, there was a little bit of a wrinkle I read today, and I don't know whether this is a walk back or this was the original
They need
plan.
to walk back a lot.
But
Yeah, they do.
I did read that the expanded analysis or the expanded explanation from the Academy was that they're going to, while those awards are not going to be given out live, what they're going to do is tape them, edit them while the commercials are going on, so you won't see like where the winner goes from the seat to the stage. But they say they will make those award presentations part of the broadcast, and they say you won't be able to tell. It'll be seamless, so we'll see. I kind of doubt that.
So is this the Academy's way of saying that one of the biggest complaints or bitches about watching the Oscars is
It's
how
too long.
they go?
Yeah.
They say they want to keep it to a 3-hour show.
Apparently,
Okay. At that point, if it's 3 hours or
That's
if it's
exactly
3.5
what George
hours,
said
what's
today.
the difference at this
Exactly.
point?
Right.
These are the Oscars.
Right.
These are the Academy Awards. This is supposedly the highest accolade in the business, right?
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, do I care about every single category? There's a part of me that does, but yeah, there's a part of me that goes, those, usually the ones I get wrong
Right.
in
Right.
my Oscar pool.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I don't pay that much more attention to them. But everybody to have achieved that honor to be nominated deserves their shot. If they're gonna broadcast them and telecast them, everybody that's nominated and every award that they present, they should get their shot.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing. If it's 3 hours, if it's 3.5 hours, at that point, I just get tired of them. Seemingly now, they just keep chasing this elusive audience to give them some ratings number. Where I'm thinking, just play to your base.
Yeah.
Just play to your base. What's wrong with that?
People who love really great films.
Exactly, and they are invested in this show, and you might be chasing people that are just going to be, on their high horse and diss about the Hollywood elite anyway.
So in that same vein, let me ask you this question. They always complain about all-time low ratings for the Oscars, and like the Grammy Awards were just on, and they said that those had reached an all-time low as far as ratings. I mean, we're in a different world now
Yes.
as far as television viewing
exactly what it is.
Yep.
is concerned. But if they wanted to do something to boost the ratings, do you guys have any thoughts or ideas as to what that should be? I mean, does it come down to a host? Does it? Because I think we actually talked about this on your podcast. It's one of the most thankless jobs in the world.
Oh, yeah,
the
it would be.
Oscars.
It's like
Yeah.
doing the Super Bowl halftime, because there's people that already hate next year's Super Bowl halftime show.
Right.
It's the same way. They already hate the next host and we're not going to have one, but they hate them. It is. It's a thankless job. And, over the years, I remember back when Johnny Carson did it how many years in a row. And at the time, he set the standard.
And Bob Hope back in the day. Even Billy Crystal in more recent memory.
They've gone all over the board. They've had some really good hosts. They've had, they tried that James Franco, Anne Hathaway thing. Okay.
That was bad.
That was bad?
That was bad, but
they've had some good hosts, too. And I think you're right. It's a
but don't we
job.
Secretly almost like to bitch as much as we love
Sure.
to glow?
Yes.
Like he did a great job, and isn't that part of it for us? Like that host was horrible.
Yep.
But that's part of the experience,
especially now in the social media age.
I agree with you. I think that's the only way to hope to get ratings, because the show is the show, and generally speaking, the majority of the people who get nominated are not in giant blockbuster films. So it's not as if that's necessarily going to be a giant draw, but the host would be. So I find it really unusual that in a year where they're trying so desperately to get ratings that they've decided to do it without any celebrity to pin it on.
Right. Exactly.
I wonder what Gaga's going to wear. Like, I don't think that's enough reason to tune in.
And when we start to analyze some of these nominations, and you're right, some of the films, I mean, I would be surprised if 30% of the Academy Award Oscar viewing public has seen some of these films, all these films. None of these films.
No.
I mean, when we actually get to the Best Picture category,
we got a couple blockbusters in there for the first time.
A couple,
for the first time in a long time,
and they deserve it too.
They do.
But there's a couple in there that I guarantee that most people haven't seen.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. I do. That's one. I will say that's one recent change. I did like expanding the number of possible titles in the Best Picture category. I didn't have a problem with that. They can go up to 10. I think.
Yeah.
This year there's 8.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm fine with that.
Do you think that since they've expanded the Best Picture category, that they should also expand the Best Director category?
No.
No.
I don't think so. I don't think as many people care about the director. I mean, I do. No, it's true. Come on. They don't. And I do.
You keep saying it.
But
hot take.
Right. But I mean, I think to me that would make as much sense then as expanding all of the categories to have 10. I mean, I just think that the culminating effort, the film itself, it makes sense to potentially honor more. And I like it because it does give it the chance to recognize some great big movies.
Right,
your Black Panther, but also it gives it a chance to actually draw attention to more small films.
So let me be devil's advocate and say, if it's a great movie, didn't a great director have something to do with it?
Sure, they
did. Shouldn't they get the
but it's not necessarily 10 to 10. I mean, you're not going to get the same 10 directors necessarily for the same 10 films.
Okay. All right. She got me. Should we dig into it then, or some other things you want to talk about before we get into the actual nominations?
No, I think I think we're all in agreement that they seem to be tripping over their own feet here recently.
And will that be a draw? The fact that the Academy is tripping over their own feet, and will we, as the viewing public, want to see how bad they trip over their own feet?
Yeah, and
as a result,
if they'll call the wrong movie again,
Wow.
Yeah. So we might actually watch to see how bad of a train wreck it is, and the ratings might go up.
That's the genius of their plan. Don't you see?
No, I did not see it till just now, George Wolfe. Just now.
Oh.
All right, let's get into the categories. We're going to tackle the screenplays and the actors, directors, and, of course, the Best Picture. Now, I'll be honest, I've seen most everything. There are a couple that still has slipped by me that I did not get a chance to see. So I'm relying on the two of you who have seen every movie that's ever been created on Earth. Give me that fun fact again.
Yeah, it was in 2017. We decided just for fun on New Year's Day, we were going to write down every single movie we watched throughout the entire year, and it was 352 by the time we got to New Year's Eve of 2018. So it's almost a movie a day.
Yep.
Almost.
Do you guys talk?
Usually we're shouting from the other end of the room. How's yours? Oh, it's all right. What about yours? So, yeah.
But it's nice that you both have a passion for film.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the questions I wanted. That is one of the questions I want to ask you. What we're going to do. I know we talked to him about his love for film. Where did your love for film start?
I think it's because I wasn't really allowed to watch anything as a kid. Isn't that how everybody loves? I think that's how passions begin, is that you think, why not? Why can't I have that? And then it's like, well, I must have it. So I think that's really where it started. And our neighbors, as luck would have it, had HBO. So I would just go down to the Colemans
neighbors
and binge watch movies.
That was kind of like a thing, right? Back in the day, like, oh, the neighbors have HBO.
That's right.
They got cable.
That's
and,
right.
You were stuck with whatever basic channels were available with the.
That's right.
Those were good times. It was special. It made it
simpler
special.
time.
Yeah. Now everything is at your disposal with a phone. Everything else, it kind of made things a little bit special. So yeah, I get that. I get the fact that it became something cool, and that's how you got to love movies. Now, was it a love for movies that brought you two together?
No, it was me managing a bar and her wanting a job, basically.
Well, that's far more romantic.
It is, isn't it? But actually, our first movie together was Misery.
Yes.
Wait, the movie Misery, or actually watching it together was Misery?
The movie Misery.
Okay, all right.
It was the movie
Wow,
Misery.
good date pick, George.
You know what? It was actually. Yeah.
Well, because you both had a love for horror.
Well, we did. We didn't
films?
really know it at the time.
Well,
I
mean, I've always had, since the time I was a child, an abiding love for horror films. It's my favorite thing ever. Horror films and Diet Pepsi and Chipotle. Those are my three favorite things. So, yeah, it was a perfect, actually. And that's telling, I think, when you first start dating someone, that we both were like, yeah, when that mallet came out.
Hobbling,
Yeah, the hobbling.
I'm turned on now.
Yeah.
You're turned on. Yeah, she's like into the hobbling.
Oh, yeah.
You weren't the least bit concerned. Like,
No.
you dig that?
No.
Really?
I dig this.
It's
But,
good that Stephen King
Yeah.
brought you kids together.
And then years later, we both. Well, she started writing movie reviews for the other paper first, and then a few years later, I did. So then that's how. Once we started both writing for the other paper, then it was just always movies and movies and movies, and it's just kind of grown since then. Yeah,
I think that's pretty awesome. I think it's great
Thanks.
to have a mutual love for something and be able to actually share it in life and also in your work. So
Yeah.
kudos to both of you.
Thanks.
All right, let's get to it, shall we? You guys want to go with actor or actress first, supporting wise? Which one do you want to tackle first?
actress.
Actress?
What do you think? Okay.
Best supporting actress, Amy Adams for Vice, hasn't won. And I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Marina de Tavira for Roma. Regina King, I did not see that performance. Emma Stone, the favorite. I have Rachel Weisz, the favorite as well. I've seen everything except Regina King and If Beale Street Could Talk. To me, this strikes me as a tough category.
It is a tough category.
A tough category.
So stocked.
Oh
my God,
do
these guys are great.
Emma Stone and Rachel cancel each other out?
I think they do because, well, not only because of their roles are similar, they've also both won one already. So I could see that canceling out as well. Like you just said it, this category is so stocked. Everybody could be worthy of winning. And there were some great performances that got left off that didn't get nominated in this category.
Oh, maybe there should be 10.
Uh,
Oh, no.
But I think Regina King will probably win because of that canceling out of the two from the favorite.
Yeah.
So she benefits from the fact that both Rachel and Emma were magnificent in the favorite, which they were.
They really were.
They really were.
But so is Regina King. It's not like she doesn't deserve
Oh, no,
it.
yeah.
No.
She's great.
She is.
She's been great for years and is finally getting maybe some of that mainstream due from being so good in movies that people haven't seen.
Right.
That I would put my money probably on her.
Yes.
Mad
I think
Wolf
so,
picks
too.
Regina. You both agree?
Yep.
Yep.
Mad Wolf picks Regina King. Best supporting actor. Mahershala Ali, who's just popping up everywhere
Yeah, he
right
won.
now.
He just won.
He won last
for
year.
Moonlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won
Two
for
years
Moonlight.
ago.
2 years
Then
ago.
and he's kind of stayed in the limelight, no pun intended. I've seen him. He was the bad guy in Luke Cage
Right.
on Netflix.
He's on True Detective right now.
He's on True
HBO.
Detective right
Yeah.
now. He's got this now. It seemed. Maybe you can clear this up for me. He's nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but the movie. I know the movie. The story is about Viggo Mortensen's character,
Right.
and that's what the guy based it on, and the musician that Ali plays is part of it, but. They seemed it doesn't seem like
even,
it seemed pretty even. It doesn't seem like a supporting role.
No, I think that he is. It's a supporting role. I mean, Viggo Mortensen has more screen time and he's got more of a character arc. he's got the framing, right? You start with him, you end with him, and then Mahershala Ali is in the center of the film. I mean, I do think of the two that his is probably the supporting character.
So he's nominated. Adam Driver for Black Klansman, which I loved. Sam Elliott in A Star Is Born. Once again, one of those journeyman actors.
Yeah.
Richard E. Grant, who was tremendous in Can You Ever Forgive Me, and then Sam Rockwell in Vice. I thought he did a great George Bush.
Yeah.
But once again,
I agree with that. I agree. I thought he was
not enough.
Right.
Not
exactly.
enough to pick up an Oscar.
And this category really surprised me. It had, for me, one of the biggest snubs, because when I saw Beautiful Boy, I not only thought Timothée Chalamet was going to get nominated, I thought he was going to win Best Supporting Actor. He was tremendous. And to not even get nominated, that really surprised me in this category. And I agree with you. I love Sam Rockwell. I don't think his performance as W was up to nominating.
No, it was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was a great scene with him and Christian Bale when he's debating whether or not to take the vice presidency. I was laughing my ass off. Part of it because I thought it was humorous, but also because they were just so good
right
at it. But he's out. I don't know who to pick here because I did not see Green Book. And I maybe there's a sentimental side of me that's kind of rooting for Sam Elliott.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. That wouldn't shock me if he. I don't really think he will, but
it would shock me.
Would it shock you?
I think Mahershala Ali owns it. Yeah.
Owns it?
Yeah.
Even with once again another film that's come under some controversy.
Yes, it has, and rightfully so. I think. I mean, I have issues with the film.
Yeah, me
not
too.
with his performance, though.
No,
I mean,
not
his
at all.
performance is.
What are your issues with the film? The facts?
Well, do you want to get to that when we get to the movies? But
all right.
Whatever you want.
Whatever
George.
you want. Well, let's put it this way. I thought of Green Book the same way I thought of Hidden Figures a couple of years ago. It's a fine movie. I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
But they took some liberties.
I'm saying that it was made with the intention of making white people feel good.
So on the Hooray for White People scale, it's not
The
Blind Side. That's the worst on that scale. And an Oscar winner, and it's not The Help, which is the middle of that scale, and an Oscar winner. But it's a film ostensibly about an African American man that's made primarily for a white audience, and it's a kind of a thing that I think Academy voters who are primarily white can see it and go, look at how well we can get along. But it's made for you, older white people. That's who it's made. It's made to be very comfortable for you.
To make them feel better.
Yeah.
Now, I do understand that it was made from the book written by the son of the
Viggo Mortensen's
limo driver. So I understand why it came through that point of view. But still,
that doesn't
I think,
make it a worthwhile film.
I think there are scenes that are pretty problematic in terms of how they're constructed. And I think
so. Despite your emotional feelings about what the film represents, you don't want that to take away from Ali's performance.
Correct, because if it won best screenplay, if it won best film, I would be very bothered. But because it is by no means the best screenplay or best film, but his performance is rock solid and amazing. Great. I mean, amazing.
And so is Viggo Mortensen. They're both spectacular.
Yeah, there's another guy that deserves that somewhere down the line is got to get a break.
Yeah,
he's always good.
Agreed.
He's got to just like son of a bitch. He's got to be just like when am I going to get?
He's got to be Glenn Closing right now.
Yes. When am I going to get in a year where this is mine?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, what have I got to do? So you think Ali gets it?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Getting into the nitty gritty.
And you know what? I think Richard E. Grant has a chance as well.
I think he's the outside shot. I do. And he was so fun.
He was so good.
In that movie. And the two of them were such a great odd couple in that.
They were good. They were probably in recent memory some of my favorite bar scenes.
Oh yeah,
with a couple since Mickey Rourke and
Barfly. Buy one or be one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, as far as some authenticity and and real people drinking and talking. Yeah. Okay, so we move into the best actor category. We'll come to actress here in just a moment. Best actor.
I'm trying it.
Try it.
Try it.
Yeah.
I'm
Try
good,
the
yeah.
Ancient Age. Go for it.
You have the support of the room.
Hope is not a whiskey drinker. It's been watered down a little bit. Been watered down. There's actually hints of
He didn't want to waste it on us because we
Right.
don't drink it. So he's like, ugh, it's $11.
I know.
They'll be
At
fine.
the beginning, when you're saying, "Is it a good whiskey?"
Oh, no.
Nah.
No, I will be completely candid with both of you. I know that you're not a big whiskey drinker from previous podcasts.
Right.
And I know that she's not a big whiskey
No.
drinker. So, yeah, when Johnny Whitney asked me, what's our whiskey tonight? I said, Ancient Age. He goes, really? And I go, yeah, they're not big whiskey drinkers.
We're not gonna like it anyway.
We're going to go with the bottom shelf bottle
right.
on this particular
That's
podcast.
right. No.
That's
it's
what
only
we're doing.
wise.
That's right.
Just good thinking.
Huh?
That
Just
is.
good thinking.
That's good planning.
You know, it's just sometimes whiskey business pays a little attention to economics.
Yeah.
If you guys were huge whiskey enthusiasts and this was the Oscar podcast that it is, I might have gotten a $50, $60, $70 bottle to celebrate, but you're not.
No. No, that's right.
We're the first to admit it.
That's
You're
right.
not.
So cheers.
That's right.
But at the same point, I got what I consider to be a top shelf, bottom shelf whiskey in Ancient Age. I'm telling you, for the price, people, $11 to $15 a bottle, you're not going to go wrong. But I'm glad you actually tried it. All right, moving on. What's that? No, we haven't repeated a single bottle. That's our 78th bottle on the
Wow.
podcast. But I like to think that we run the gamut from bottom shelf to top shelf. All right, back to top shelf actors. Christian Bale for Vice. Bradley Cooper, A Star is Born. Willem Dafoe at Enemy's Gate. At Eternity's Gate. I'm sorry, at Eternity's Gate. Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, and Viggo Mortensen for Green Book.
Rami Malek's going to win.
Why?
Yeah. It's
Why?
It seems to have
I think
all the momentum right now.
It's got momentum. I get it. He did a great job.
did.
The movie is also nominated for Best Picture,
Shouldn't be.
which
It should
I
not
think
be.
I think it was a gloss over
It
of
was.
the whole
Agreed.
the Queen story. It felt to me most of the time. Don't get me wrong. I liked it for what it was,
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, because I like Queen, I like the music, but it felt
No,
like it was a TV movie.
Yeah, it's empty.
Produced by Dick Clark.
Produced by Dick
It's
Clark
empty
and John Whitney.
storytelling. I will say the Live Aid section is worth
Amazing.
the price of admission.
And if you
But-
get a chance to watch, if you watch Bohemian Rhapsody and see the Live Aid, and then actually go and watch that Live Aid performance, they nailed it.
They did.
I mean, down to the Pepsi cups
Yep.
on the piano and the
That-
glass of half a beer.
That sequence is fantastic.
It's great.
But it's not a good piece of storytelling. Other than Rami Malek, I mean, the other band members' characters, they might as well be cardboard stand.
Exactly.
They're just reaction shots. It's the way everything is like you said, glossed over. It's just a bad TV movie as far as the storytelling. But the music constantly lifts it up.
Yeah.
And everybody's loving it. His performance was great.
It's also a movie about a gay icon, and it won't make anybody uncomfortable.
Exactly.
And that's the problem with the movie.
Yeah.
What do you want, Hope? Do you want people to be uncomfortable when you want them to shift in their chairs and say, "This movie
Well-
makes me feel bad"?
I just don't want every film that anybody makes to be directed solely at straight white Christian people. I don't think that should be the only audience who gets to be the core audience for a film.
Well, and here's the thing too: when you see a movie,
I don't think it's just straight Christian white people going to the movies.
No, it isn't. And so, so Crazy Rich Asians, for instance, made a ton of money this year.
Yeah.
Did not care what the white people in the audience understood or didn't understand. Good for them, because they made a ton of money and they were not targeting a white audience.
No.
So it means it can happen. So hopefully that opens the doors and we can see a lot more variety. I don't think it was a very good
There was a
movie.
white audience that went in there and go, well, they nailed it. They're crazy rich Asians. Just like the title said. I got my neighbor next door to me.
He's crazy.
He's crazy. He's rich and he's Asian, and God damn it, he talks about going to Singapore all the time. And but God damn, if that is just true story. You think that's what covered the base? Because it was a very popular book, and they made a fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
They made a fun movie.
But
it was my Big Fat Greek Wedding for Asians.
Yeah, exactly. But a movie like Bohemian
It was.
It's exactly what
It was
it
my
was.
Big Fat Greek Wedding for Asians. It was exactly what it was. I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a racial or any type of offensive way at all. But my Big Fat Greek Wedding was huge.
Yes.
huge.
And everybody said, "Is that how Greeks are?" Yes. Yes. That's how we are. There are. I know. I have a friend that lives here in Columbus that has a spit in his backyard and puts a lamb out there. I guarantee you. And his pool, all the colors in his back are the colors of the Greek flag. Yes, it's true. So back off.
But a movie like Bohemian Rhapsody, when you see that it was, executive produced by the surviving members, then it's going to be whitewashed to the fact they get final say over everything that's in it. They're going to veto things.
Are they going to be protective?
Yes.
They're going to be protective.
Yeah. And it was clearly
Freddie Mercury.
And their own.
Yeah.
So I think that's why their characters were almost non-existent. They weren't really characters in the movie.
I give them big points on the trailer. The trailer made me want to go see the movie. Yeah.
Well, and Rami Malek really was good in it.
And he was
really
good.
Was.
He was good. Is he win the Oscar good? No.
No, I don't think he should win. But
I also don't think it was
that
that strong a year. Like, if you look at the rest, I thought, of course, Christian Bale was great. He's always great. I just don't think... I think Ethan Hawke should have been nominated. I think most people think Ethan Hawke should have been nominated. But it's just, like, if you look at the women for best lead, that is crazy rock solid. And there are 5 lead female performances that in any other year would have been nominated, and they've had no shot this year.
Yeah.
It just happened to be a fairly weak field for lead actors this year.
And we should say, of the ones that were nominated, because, we think Joaquin Phoenix, Ben Foster.
Oh my God, yes.
You could
Both
have
of
put them both in there, and it would have been a lot stronger field. But
maybe there should be 10. He says that, yes. I'm sorry. I don't think there should be 10. Who wins?
Rami Malek,
Yeah.
I think.
Rami Malek?
Yeah, probably so.
You know what?
I don't think he should.
Who do you think should? Who would you pick?
Oh, I'm picking Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am too. But you know what?
I mean, that guy, you talk about, Rami Malek did a great job, but, and maybe I don't know some of the subtleties and eccentricities of Freddie Mercury, so I have to base them on, what he did. But I have watched Dick Cheney over the years.
It was an incredible
and it
performance.
was just fucking spooky at times.
It really was.
I will say, even though he's getting, I'm not saying he's not getting a lot of credit, but I still think, in some respects, Bradley Cooper is underrated about how good he is in. Well, this year we found out how good a director he is.
Right.
But man, he's a good actor. And I know he's been nominated. He hasn't won. He is so good.
Does that film suffer? And this is always a subject of debate when it comes to Academy Award time. Does that film suffer from coming out when it came out? Did it come out too early? Do you think it would have come out later? And I always say controversy because I go way back to Silence of the Lambs, which came out like in February or
really
March
early.
of that year and hung on to win all the awards that it won. But do you think, especially now with the way social media is and how short attention span theater we are with like, oh, that was so great. That was so great. That was so until that. Oh, look at that. That's
recency bias.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. It very well could have, because I thought early on it had just all sorts of awards momentum, and then it just kind of.
And when I first heard that they were doing it, I went, ugh.
I know.
And granted, the Streisand-Christopherson thing still was, that brought up that bad taste in my mouth about that, which was a huge movie, but a bad movie. So when they said they're going to do it again, I'm like, why? but they actually improved
They did.
upon. So, did you like the Streisand? You looking at
No,
me?
no.
You're looking at me like I'm speaking.
George watched all 3 of them before we saw the new one. I'd never seen any of them, very much on purpose, and I had zero desire to see this one. Zero to see this one. And I liked it actually quite a bit, and I was very surprised by that because one of the things I thought was, who doesn't know this story by now? Good God.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that it was
They added a lot to it,
Yeah, they
though.
really did. A lot of depth, and I thought that Lady Gaga was not only was she great, but for the first time, that character actually was a full-blown character.
Right.
And I thought that their chemistry was great. No, I
Yes.
thought it was a great movie, and I don't care for any of the other ones. And the Streisand one, I can't stomach. I couldn't possibly sit
And
for
also
15
great.
minutes of it
I mean,
again.
like
No.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah, the entire cast,
Dave
top to bottom.
Chappelle.
Yep.
I mean, everybody. Sam Elliott, of course.
Elliott.
Who we
And
got
it's-
in there. Everybody.
And it's
everybody-
directed so well.
It
Not
is.
only the big musical parts, but then the small intimate parts too.
Yep.
I mean, he got it all so right.
He did.
I think Bradley Cooper is just tremendous. I really do.
But he doesn't win for best director, which we'll get to in just
Right.
a little bit. So, you guys say Rami will win, but who should win?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
All right, but you got your will, and okay,
Yep.
fair enough.
Yep.
All right, we go to this is a tough category for me. Best actress. Best actress. You've got picked out of 3,000 women, never acted a day in her life. Yalitza, I can't even say her last name. Aparicio for Roma, right? Glenn Close in The Wife, a movie that a lot of people have not seen.
True.
Olivia Colman, who is amazing as the Queen
So great.
in The Favorite. Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born, and Melissa McCarthy, Can You Ever Forgive Me?
Great category.
It's crazy
All
great.
these women
Crazy
are-
great,
It's
crazy
amazing.
crowded. Olivia Colman just won the BAFTA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that the BAFTA awards sometimes influence the Academy Awards? Yes
I
or
don't
no?
think so.
No?
No.
Whole different
I don't
ballgame.
think so. Yeah.
There's
All
no
right.
overlap in voters.
Mm-hmm.
There's no overlap in voters.
There's no what?
There's no overlap in the voters.
No overlap in the voters.
Just like Golden Globes, there's no overlap in
right.
the voters.
Okay, I gotcha. So who wins?
Glenn Close.
Yeah.
Because she's due?
Well, she's tremendous.
She
in the
really
movie.
is.
But it's
But
that doesn't. That's not to take away from any other because they're all so great.
Olivia
They
Colman's
are.
great as the Queen in The
She's
Favorite.
great.
that I would love for her to win. I thought she was spectacular and she's so fun and she's always great in everything, but nobody knows who she is.
Right.
But I think that Glenn Close is going to win. Yeah.
She's been nominated how many times
8.
and hasn't won?
8.
That's got to play.
This will be this is her
This
eighth
is her
nomination.
8th nomination.
Or her- okay, I
This is her
didn't know
8th nomination.
Okay.
And she's. They're all so good.
And it's not one of those where it's like, oh, she should win it by this time. Let's just give it to her. It's not that great.
No.
But
no,
'cause she is.
no, because
she-
we've had that.
Yeah, we have.
We've had actors who should have won for
Al
previous.
Pacino.
Al Pacino being one of them.
Lord.
Yeah, big time, right?
Yeah.
Son of a Woman was not the movie he should have won.
No.
No.
No, I picked Glenn Close as well, and this is why I'm so glad you're hearing it because tell me if I'm on the same page as far as what I think clinches it for her. I mean, she's great throughout the film, but the part that clinches the Oscar for me, for her in that film, she doesn't even speak.
Oh,
Yeah. No, exactly.
You know,
2/3 of the movie is just a close up on her face.
right?
And how many people could carry a film like that?
And when she says, when she's adamant about telling her, and no spoilers here, but she tells her husband, you know, don't thank me
Yeah.
in your
Yes.
speech.
Oh my God.
And
Yes.
when he wins the award and he's thanking her, the shot of her sitting there reacting, the subtleties of her face, I'm like, God,
and
Yeah.
she's surrounded by this sea
Yes.
of people.
Yeah.
And it just zeroes in on her. Yeah.
that's the Oscar
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah,
That,
you're right.
That face, and I was so glad because I wanted to ask you because as a film reviewer and somebody who loves movies, did you understand that moment for her?
For
yeah,
sure.
I absolutely did. And you know, it's funny. I thought the same thing. And that movie came out fairly early.
Right.
And we'd already seen a ton. I mean, it was already, Toni Collette. We saw Hereditary. Like, oh, Toni Collette's going to win the Oscar today. You know, Keira Knightley was in one, which is actually a very similar film. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead was in this great movie early on. We're like, oh, we hope they remember
All
her come
About
Oscar
Nina,
time. And I saw The Wife and thought, well, that's the winner right there. Like whatever else happens this year, and it's that scene. You're like, no, she's got it.
Because I'm saying like she's nominated, and I'm watching the movie, and I'm seeing her. And I go, oh, there it is.
Right there.
Just
There
tremendous.
it is, without saying a word. but conveying it all.
Mm-hmm.
Her angst, her disgust, her repression.
Right.
I mean, was
and you know
right there.
in that scene without a word why, right? They haven't told you yet why, but you know.
You know why. Yeah, you're kind of catching
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's genius.
But again, look at the rest of the category. I mean, Lady Gaga's fantastic.
Yeah.
Melissa McCarthy's fantastic. They're all so great. And the newcomer from Roma. This is such a great category.
It is.
But it wouldn't surprise me if Olivia Colman won, but I think I'd have to go with Glenn Close.
I think
I'm going to go with Glenn Close as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Olivia Colman's great as the Queen, and hopefully that film will kind of put her on the radar, and get her some other parts as well to be more popular and more well known.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, she deserves it.
And if Glenn Close wins, like you said, it's not by multiple nominations.
It's no charity at all.
It's not a gift. It's not a gift.
No.
All right, 2 categories left: Best Director, Best Picture. Alfonso Cuarón, who everybody has been raving out since this movie showed up on Netflix. A Greek
Although
guy.
it's a movie you have to see in the theater.
Yeah, if you can.
really do.
I did not see it in the theater. I watched it on Netflix on a big screen TV.
You have a big TV.
All right. So, Yorgos Lanthimos, a Greek, for the favorite. Spike Lee, Black Klansman, Adam McKay, Vice, and help me with Cold War director Help me.
The Cold War director.
Yeah. Pawlikowski.
That was the surprise nomination.
It was. Yeah. I think a lot of people thought that was Bradley Cooper's, but
Did he steal something? Did he steal one away from Bradley Cooper?
I think so.
Does that steal
no,
something?
that's a glorious movie. That's
yeah.
an earned nomination right there. Yeah, it's an amazing.
It was a surprise,
it's a
though,
weird movie. It's super odd. It's one of those. It's like a romance that spans generations and continents, and it's in like 88 minutes long. You're like, wow! And it ends It's weird, and it's up for also cinematography. It's gorgeous to look at. Now it's Cold War. People should see it,
and it covers a lot of ground in 88 minutes.
Yes.
That must be a fine film editor.
Yeah,
whose award will not be broadcast live on Sunday of the Academy Awards.
Yeah. It's funny because it's one of those movies that you go in thinking, I bet this thing is 3 hours long. You're like, what? 88 minutes in and out?
Yeah, and it's and it's got this incredible musical backdrop. It's just fascinating. I loved it.
So, who wins?
I think Cuarón wins. I as much as I loved.
No Spike Lee?
I don't think he's going to win.
He did a fantastic job. He did, but I mean,
first of all, a goddamn shame that it's the first time he's being nominated for an Academy Award.
No. It's crazy.
Based on his body of work.
Yeah, totally agree. And Black Klansman, we both loved, and we loved the directing job. But Cuarón, that movie just blew me away.
But the thing about Black Klansman, which is enjoyable on any imaginable level, I mean, it's funny and it's shocking and it's scary, but also, I mean, he really pulls in all of the different types of films. There are moments of it that are very experimental, and there are moments of it that are incredibly political, and then there are others that are just very popcorn munchy. And the way that he weaves it all together in one narrative is fascinating.
There are still Spike Lee moves.
100%. It's absolutely a Spike. Nobody else could have made it.
I mean, who else could put in that interlude with Harry Belafonte?
Oh my God,
that almost moves you to tears.
Yeah.
And then just weave that into the whole narrative. It's a brilliant job.
It is.
It's a brilliant job.
And I think it's a great cast as well. I mean, everybody does a great job in the film. I saw Roma as well, and you're right, it's a beautiful film. Based on supposedly his childhood, somewhat, a little memoir-like,
autobiographical. Yeah,
but then a lot of people who are probably watching it, I'm sure a lot of people maybe had to, if they really wanted to dig deep, like what the hell was going on in Mexico at that particular? That was right during the Dirty War in 1971 in Mexico, and that was part of the backdrop as well.
Sure was,
which was just tremendously violent, and I think it's a slow film to start, but one that definitely
Oh,
it just immerses you.
Just slowly starts to tie you up.
and the way it's put together, there's long takes where it seems like the foreground and the background are dancing with each other.
Equally important, and the choreography. There are so many shots where you're watching two people in the front, but there are 100 people doing something very literally 100 people doing something very important and integral right behind them. And the way that he'll go from a riot in the street into the window of the store where they're buying baby furniture, and then one spills into the other. The visual storytelling in this movie, and also there are just these moments that are so absurd in a film that's really very serious. It's just shocking, and if you got the chance to see it in 70 millimeter, it's just to die for.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous.
Oh, my
70
God.
millimeter. I did not. One of the absurd moments for me is, well, how come they didn't pick up the dog shit on a regular basis in the
I knew
driveway?
that was coming. I knew that was coming.
Why?
Just
Why?
clean it up.
Just pick up the dog shit on a regular basis. I was like, why is that such a hard thing to do?
I don't know. I'm with you.
The kids love her, but she won't. I'm not scooping up dog shit until I absolutely have to. It's the one thing I'm going to let my boss actually rag me on is like, pick up the dog shit. Oh, okay, well, until you say it, I'm not picking it up
But
until
then
then.
there's the tension of trying to park that car. In
Oh, I
that
know.
car, that
small
was
little
crazy.
space.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah,
All right, so Alfonso wins for Best Director.
I think so.
I think with all the adulation, I think he does. But after seeing BlacKkKlansman and knowing they both have an amazing body of work.
They do.
Yeah.
They both do. But I hope that Spike Lee gets his due. I'm glad he finally got nominated.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
Damn
He
shame.
deserves it. No
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't be sad if he wins.
I won't
just
either.
don't think he's
No,
going to.
I won't
no,
I won't either.
No, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I want him to win on merit, not on race.
Right.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, if he won for BlacKkKlansman, it would be on merit.
be on
That's
merit.
for
Yeah,
sure.
it would be on
That's not
merit.
a gimme. That's not a
But
gift.
I don't want the Academy to say we need to give it to a black director because it's not about the. It is about diversity. I'm glad we have more diversity, but it's about the win. It's about
Right.
the quality of the work.
Mm-hmm.
Black or white director, that's a hell of a film.
Yeah, it is.
Well, if he won, it would not be. I don't think it would be a gift
Okay,
at all.
No.
I hope that's not the case.
No.
All right, but you don't think he's going to. You think it'll be Alfonso, and then we get to Best Picture: BlacKkKlansman, Black Panther, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Heavy sigh.
The favorite, Green Book, Roma, A Star is Born, and Vice.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think the two that stand out for us are Bohemian Rhapsody and Green Book. We don't think either one of those should be nominated.
No.
There were a host of other films that could have been in the place, but they're not only nominated. I think, as we were talking earlier, Green Book seems to have the momentum, unfortunately, to be the winner.
And what's interesting, what we were saying earlier, the director is not nominated for Best
Right,
Director.
Peter
No,
Farrelly.
no.
Rightly
Pe-
so.
right,
Can you
right.
imagine if Peter Farrelly was nominated? I mean, that's like a sign of
Because
the
he-
apocalypse. One of the Farrelly brothers gets nominated for
because
Best
he made
Director.
Dumb and Dumber, and there's a price to pay. You made Dumb and Dumber. You're gonna have to make another quality film before you can get nominated for an Oscar. Which, by the way, I love Dumb and Dumber. I think it's a great movie, and I like the Farrelly brothers too. So
I like there's something about Mary. I mean, I'm not saying that they had
Kingpin.
not. Yeah. Oh yeah.
he made a great movie.
But it's also, I mean, Green Book is not a director's film. It's not, you look at BlacKkKlansman and just think, damn, like
That's
what,
a director's film.
You look at anything Cuarón has done, but certainly Roma, and you're really wowed by just the cinematic genius of it. You don't think that when you watch Green Book,
And Roma is also nominated for foreign language film, right?
which is what it will win. So it won't win Best Picture.
So that has is it time for a first?
yes,
It'd be all right
Is
with
it
me.
time for a first for a foreign language film to also win Best Picture?
yes.
I think it'd be great.
It would be great too. I mean, there, no animated film has won Best Picture because there's an animated category. Although Toy Story 3 was the best picture that came out that year. Up was the best picture that came out that year.
Mm-hmm.
Toy Story was the best picture that came out that year. It makes me sad. It's one of the reasons I was happy that popular film didn't get its own category because
Yeah.
it basically guarantees that the most popular film will will never win Best Picture.
And I think it waters it down.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It waters down. That was a huge misstep on their part. I'm glad they corrected themselves before we got to where we're going to be on Sunday night with the Oscars.
But if Black Panther, because when we did our year-end list, Roma was our top film, but Black Panther was our number two.
Yeah.
So
I remember when we were talking about I don't know what podcast we were on, but we were talking about Black Panther, and it's an excellent movie.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Does it have a chance to walk away with Best Picture?
No.
It doesn't seem like it. If you're going on all the signs that usually lead up to the Oscars, I don't think it has anything that would lead you to believe that it does.
No.
Green Book seems to have all the momentum right now.
Because let's be honest, we've had years throughout the Academy Awards where the Best Picture was not necessarily the Best Picture.
Oh my Lord!
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A lot.
And one?
Crash, one.
Titanic.
Shakespeare in Love.
Let's go down the list.
Yeah.
Dr. Dolittle.
Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
Oh, I kind of liked Forrest Gump. You didn't like Forrest Gump?
No. Stop saying it. Make my brain bleed.
Movies
been a
are like
few.
a box of chocolates.
Not a fan.
There's been a few that didn't deserve it. Yeah.
All right, but that would
But that's the way it works.
But that's kind of because Forrest Gump was a very popular
It was.
movie.
And there's so much, glad handing that goes on behind the scenes to try to get votes, with the politics behind the scenes. So, to think that it's a meritocracy, I think, is a little naive.
Yeah.
So you guys think it'll be Green Book for Best Picture?
Yeah,
I think Best Picture is more of a toss-up than the other categories. I think the other categories, in a lot of ways, are much easier to predict right now. But yeah, I think Green Book, it has all the markers.
How'd you guys do on your Oscar ballot last year?
How did we? We missed
We won. Every year we miss one. Every
one.
single year we miss one.
No,
I don't think they vote the same.
We don't do the same.
Based on this podcast, I'm
Every
going to
single
say
year I
say
miss
no.
one.
I'm going to say no. They do not vote the
I
same.
remember the year that Moonlight won. We had a perfect score for about 30 seconds.
Which is funny because it got to the Best Picture, and I said, well, Moonlight's going to have to win because we got everything else right. And we hoped Moonlight would win, but we thought it would be La La Land. And then they announced La La Land, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to bed. And like 2 seconds later, I heard George goes, oh my God.
Yeah. Come
Like,
on back here.
No. We had to get one wrong, so yeah.
And do you guys have anything special planned for Oscar night, or are you going to be watching at home? Or are you guys going to be someplace doing something special on Oscar night?
Not for Oscar night. We're going to be at the UA Library doing an Oscar preview party, but a demonstration, a session, a Q&A.
Nice.
Here in a few days. So I think for Oscar night, no, we like just hunkering down at
If
home.
we can, yeah, we'd rather just
with
watch
a
it at
bottle
home.
of bottom shelf whiskey. Maybe you can recommend one.
I can recommend many, except the only drawback to that plan is I'll be sitting right in the middle of you two on Oscar night going, isn't this great? Isn't this great?
Come on over.
That's right.
We'll do a live tweet of the Oscars.
With the Netflix, I think that's the thing that is.
Well, I was gonna bring that up a little bit earlier, but Hansberry makes a good point. This generation that we seem to be moving into, or this sweep where films are streaming on Netflix and Amazon first, and then showing up in the theaters.
Yeah.
Good thing or bad?
I like it. I like it because I think that I know a lot of people don't because they think it's driving people away from the theater, and I understand that. But I think that it gives filmmakers a lot more opportunities, and it gives smaller films a lot more opportunities. And so, take First Reformed, for example. I mean, it's a movie that people are so much more likely to see now because that it's available streaming than they wouldn't have gone to see it in the theater. And Roma, especially, I mean, obviously we think you should see it on a big screen. It is visually a stunning movie like nothing else that came out this year, but it's also a foreign language film and not that many people go to those. So, they did it first a few years ago with Beasts of No Nation.
You gotta read.
And it should have been nominated for Oscars, but in that year, the first year they did it, there was a lot of backlash against it. So Beasts of No Nation, which should have been nominated for just about everything, got nothing. But it's just become the norm now.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah, and it's funny. Every time something like this happens, I always think about an interview I read. It's probably been at least 5 years now with, I think it was Spielberg and Scorsese and a few people. Anyway, a group of the highest grossing directors alive right now all predicted that in the future, movies are going to be like concerts. $75 a ticket. And, you go on the big screen. That was their thought down the road. And every time something like this happens, I think it's moving one step closer to that.
I think that's just stupid. When TV came out, people thought it's going to be into the movies, and people always, the new thing happens, and we just adjust to it.
You adapt. Yeah. If you really, really want to go, you're going to go.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and they're trying, and the theaters are trying to make it more inviting.
Yep,
they're trying to give you recliners to lay in.
Yeah,
and
they all have bars now.
And,
they all have bars now.
Yeah, so everything they're trying to make the experience good. But as the TVs get better and bigger and sharper,
and there's so many more avenues of delivery of getting the content. It's inevitable. I mean, when the genie's out of the bottle, it's going to happen. You're going to have, when directors make those choices. Remember, I forget the movie it was a few years ago. Soderbergh, released one movie of his on all platforms at once.
Right.
It went out to movies, it went to VOD, whatever. There's going to be directors.
Is that Unsane?
No, I think it was before that.
Okay.
But anyway, they keep pushing the envelope and trying these things, and I can't blame them.
Yeah.
They've got content. They've got good works.
John Whitney has a question, ladies and gentlemen.
So, if nobody likes the fact that movies that were produced by Netflix are now up for Academy Awards, why not change the rules? What's the pushback on this?
People don't like the fact that
They don't like the fact that films aren't traditionally released. They're not traditionally released in theaters.
Well,
and theater.
Well, because we had you talk about Beast of No Nation, but then Mudbound was a Netflix movie that got a little Oscar,
got a little buzz.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard that much flack about it.
No.
Now you're a director, so you may have.
Not now. I mean, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and people booed. People booed at Sundance and when the Netflix banner came up at the beginning of a film, audiences booed. But I just don't think that happens anymore. I mean, I think that it's, especially now, if you got people like Cuarón, who is making his movie directly through Netflix.
Is a Netflix.
It's a Netflix film. Spike Lee's next one is going to be a Netflix film.
Yes, he's going to do his take on Vietnam, which should be fascinating, and that will be a Netflix movie. So it's gaining more respect.
So John Osbeck actually told me that SAG and AFTRA, when they combined, actually made it an easier road for those kind of films to make it into the mainstream and being Academy Award winning.
There's a good point.
Yeah,
I didn't realize.
And that that makes a tremendous amount of sense, partly because there's so much overlap in the voting pool, SAG and the Academy, it's funny because when you're filling out your card, you should look who won the SAGs, because there is so much overlap in the voting pool that it is. I think it's like an 81% predictor.
Well, that makes sense, because in the Oscars, is it right? Actors vote for actors and so forth.
That's how they get nominated. So actors nominate actors, producers nominate film, and then the entire Academy votes for the winner.
Votes for the winner. So you should look at what.
Yeah, but that's a good point about those two.
Yep.
Those two got
So
together. That makes sense. Yeah.
Follow the SAG Awards. Not the Golden Globes.
It's correct. Because as you're saying, we have no idea.
I come full circle
That's right.
to what I said earlier.
If you take nothing else away from this podcast.
We don't understand the Golden Globes.
Hope Madden and George Wolfe have been our guests on Whiskey Business. The guest bottle, which is almost gone, ironically enough, has been Ancient Age, a nice choice. We've had an unbeknownst to you studio audience, but you could probably hear him in the background. So just let me say a couple things that I need to say. Whiskey, what now, Hansberry?
Let's hear some Mad Wolf, where we can find it.
I did that earlier.
Let's hear it again at the end of the podcast. For crying out loud.
This is what happens when my producer drinks too much $11 whiskey. One more time, madwolf.com.
Yeah, you can find everything. You can find our two podcasts, Screening Room Podcast and the Fright Club Podcast, on the website, as well as every place you get podcasts. So MaddWolf, MaddWolf.com.
Thank you very much.
Yep. On Instagram and Facebook, we're Mad Wolf Columbus. On Twitter, we're Mad Wolf.
And you guys are huge.
Oh.
You guys, no, you guys really do a great job. You guys are huge.
Well, thank you so much.
You guys
We
are very,
enjoy it. We
very
appreciate
much
the
enjoyed
invite for the podcast.
No,
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to have you both. And if we can think of another reason to get you back in other than Oscars over the course of the year,
Love to.
you let me know, and we'll do it, because I think you guys are a dynamic duo
Thank you.
together on here as well. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Greg? You know,
There you go. He's not used to not having a mic. Subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, please, and thank you. Well, you always ask me to do it, buddy.
But you're not here this time, so I was going to do it. No, you. I'll just sit here and listen to Charming while you talk and tell people. Go ahead. Go.
Subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes and wherever you find your podcast. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis. This is going to be a lot of fun. Say hello. Because we're actually, I mean, we can bring this up, but we were actually recording this episode in Dino's movie den. So this is actually a very visual performance, whether you think so or not.
Performance space.
But yeah.
Anything else? Great.
Spread the word. Grassroots effort.
That disembodied voice was producer Greg Hansberry, who is the son I never wanted, and but I love dearly as our producer. Of course, John Whitney. You just saw a screenshot of John Whitney, who produces our YouTube video. Whiskey Business is a Never the Luck production produced by all the people that just made sure that we got all that information across to you. So until the next bottle, see ya. You got the end of these podcast, always the very end, and it's right off the cliff.